My last video was about third case syndrome in the Ace Attorney series. This one's going to be about another third chapter in a similar series, Danganronpa, more specifically Danganronpa V3. A lot of threes in this one. Danganronpa V3 easily has the highest case quality in the series in my opinion, mostly out of uniqueness. 4 and 5 are the best 1-2 punch in the series in terms of quality, but there was a definite missed opportunity to have the third chapter be up there with the next two. You see, Danganronpa doesn't have the best of luck with its third chapters, and it's mostly due to the writer's weird need for a double murder to happen in every single one. Like, they aren't bad per se, it's just that the double murder can really bog it down. This is really shown in the second game, where the murders are first physically impossible, and second, one of them isn't even really explained, it was just kinda tacked on. However, if I had to pick the best third chapter, I'd have to pick V3's. But like I mentioned earlier, there is a massive missed opportunity in it. In order to explain the missed opportunity, I'll have to give some background on what happens in the chapter. The main conflict of the chapter boils down to the ultimate artist Angie Yonaga creating a cult, or as she calls it, the Student Council. Essentially, it manipulates people into following her, and she also attempts to stop the killing game by unifying everybody inside the academy forever. The motive is introduced earlier in the chapter. Basically, the students will be able to bring someone back from the dead using the Alright, let's try that one again. Basically, the students will be One more time. Basically, the students will be able to bring someone back from the dead using the Necronomicon. Holy, how did the voice actors do that in the actual game? Will be beyond me forever. The student council was like, yeah, this totally sounds legit. While the students with a brain were like, I don't think that's possible. Angie takes the book and is like, leave it to me, before bailing. Team Shuichi tried their best to convince her that it wouldn't work, but she didn't listen. And soon, she would be murdered and found in her lab by Shuichi, Maki, and Tenko. Who murdered her, you ask? Well, it was Korekiyo. This video isn't discussing the quality of the mystery or anything, just a missed opportunity. Said culprit decides to hold a seance in order to talk to Angie so we can ask who killed her. The player definitely won't see what happens next coming from a mile away. Tenko is murdered during the seance by a seesaw. Well, there's all the background you need. Afterwards, there's a pretty typical investigation, and then there's a typical class trial, and Korekiyo is executed like every other Blackened in the series, though his motive for killing is, interesting. He wants to gain friends for his dead sister, who is seemingly a part of him, and in a romantic relationship with him before her death. Right after Tenko's death, there is something that Monokuma says that really piqued my interest while I was playing. If there are two different killers, then only Angie's death would count, as she was killed first. During the class trial, when it became apparent that Kyo killed them both, I was pretty disappointed. It was such a massive missed opportunity to have two different killers. If the writers wanted to go in a different direction and still have it make some amount of sense, they could have had Tenko kill Angie in an attempt to save Himiko, and then have Korekiyo kill Tenko to gain someone else for his sister. It could be written as Tenko becoming even more jealous than she already was in the original game. This really could have been a great plot point with the characters having to live with a murderer. I mean, they already are, but it's not like they knew that. It served the previous title well with the characters having to live with an attempted murderer. Hell, even have him survive until the end to find out that he killed Tenko for no reason. I'd really like some discussion on how this could go. If they wanted to keep things the same up to the seance, they could have considered having Kokichi be the one to kill Tenko, but I don't really think that'd serve the next few chapters as well considering how heavily involved he is in them. Plus, I think it's a little out of character for him to do the murder himself, but it would get us out of Chapter 3 with the same people we had in the original game. I prefer the first scenario though for the reasons I listed. You'd still be able to save Kokichi's great moments in Chapter 4 and 5 with Tenko killing Angie and then Kyo killing her. Or if we want to be funny, have Miyu immediately kill Kokichi once Monokuma announces that only the first murderer will be executed. My main issues with this chapter are two things. One, the culprit for Tenko's death was very obvious, but then again I can't really blame them because that's nothing new for the series. You could pretty much accurately guess who's going to be dead at the end of pretty much every chapter in the series. And two, why even mention the two-killer rule if it wouldn't come into play later at any point in the game? In my own playthrough, it wasn't even good as a red herring because the class trial focuses on Tinka for so long before moving on to Angie that I kind of forgot that Angie also died. Thanks for watching. These videos exist to create discussion, so please feel free to talk about how you think they could have done two different killers. Be sure to subscribe and suggest future content as well.